Hi there guys, it's the Camel again and welcome back to Planet Tower, my collaboration with Uthris. And unfortunately he's not with me today as I wasn't with him last week. It's basically, also to mention it here again, it's kind of a little bit of a problem because our time zone difference is quite a hard time to, or we do have quite a hard time to plan commentary together, because it's basically for me really late in the evening, actually middle of the night, when he finishes with his normal job, and vice versa. When he's gonna have a nice time after work, then it's way too early in the morning for me. So it's kind of a struggle, but we try to manage it a little bit better in the future, so that we kind of want to point at the weekends to see what we do. But yeah, just mentioning before we go into, and you might wonder already, what is this crazy guy doing already building a coaster? I'm gonna explain quite a bit about this one in this episode, but we have a little bit of time. So first of all, I just want to mention how great the last episode of Uthris was. This entrance is so nicely done, and I love how much attention to detail he spends into those builds, and especially to round up the entire foundation of this build. And without even talking to each other, I really like how the idea of this kind of broken structure on top of this little, terrain conforming hill on the right hand side of the tower bottom now is. I think it adds a nice touch to it, so as if there is, like, the tower built into the area, and then you have the little bit of terrain inside of the structure, so that makes the entire build a little bit more interesting and a little bit more, realistic, in that sense that it is not kind of this very clean tower in the middle of nowhere, but it's actually that actually has to deal with the circumstances around it, so with the environmental things given. But yeah, anyways, I just loved how he did the entrance area, and I definitely want to continue with the way he kind of works with the waterfront over there, so that will be a thing I'm gonna tackling in my next episode. But first of all, Mr. Uthris himself has to deal with my build then in the next time. And yeah, without further praising of his work, which was actually very good last time, I want to go into what I have done this episode. And I had a hard time to decide, and recording this, Uthris doesn't even know that I did this, so I didn't even show him a screenshot or so. We just keep it like both of us just do our stuff, then we prepare the time lapse, and if it's gonna work, we do have a commentary together. So that is effectively the first time when he or me will see what we did, but at this time he doesn't even know what's going on, so he will be watching this as you guys do as well. And yeah, a lot of explanation before, but yeah, I struggled a lot if I should do the coaster or not. But then I decided, okay, the thing is that and this is also something he talked about last episode, that I'm gonna be the one, or I used to be the one for the bigger structures in the parks, for example also in Koali. And I have to spoil again, I will have some spaces left in the end, but I don't want him to continue my dirty work. I definitely want to do this in my next episode as well. There was just no time left for me to do this on a, on a kind of in a kind of way that I think it's the effort went into it would justify the amount of hours I put into, because that's a collaboration, and if I would put too much time into it, or he does, this is kind of not the idea about it. So I will skip this work in this episode and will continue in the next one. But basically the idea is that I wanted to start with the second layer of this or the second level of this tower effectively, and I thought we might just want to have a big coaster on the bottom level, because I thought like the wooden structure also fits perfectly into this really grounded foundation build with those really strong walls and strong structures. So a wooden structure also adds a lot to this really strong feel, and I also wanted to do it. And also to mention, and maybe also to excuse a little bit for all you coaster nerds out there, this is definitely not a realistic coaster in the way that it is kind of a layout that could exist, because I just had to slap it somehow into this area. It is, if you want so, inspired by a GCI coaster, definitely it is, but it has also some elements even from an RMC hybrid coaster, even though it's not an RMC hybrid at all. But I just it's hard to tell. Like it's not really, you know, it doesn't really have so many things that you would find on an RMC, but it's kind of this little play with the overbanked turns to the left and to the right, which is kind of a way GCI also does. I mean, not to that extent, by no means, but I just wanted to build a little wooden coaster in here to have this as the main kind of the main thing on the lower level, and we still have some room left to the left and to the right hand side of this little middle part, and we still have the entire ring on the outside of the bigger walls. So there's still a lot of stuff to fill in, and I was also kind of worried about, so if we would, you know, put too much into the ground level, people would also stuck in there. So with this coaster, which is taking like one fourth or maybe even 1/3 of the lower part, we don't have that much room left for kind of, you know, flat rides and stuff in the lower part, so that people won't actually, you know, get stuck too much on the lowest level. And this is something I also wanted to focus on, because like if there will be a fix of the performance regarding a lot of buildings dealing or just, you know, being intersected with each other, and I think I just read something in the forums that NDC has found a way to change the code a little bit so that the game does handle the amount of pieces intersected with each other a lot better than before. That makes me kind of hope that we can in the future have this park with a lot of people in as well, and this is also why I try to, you know, go in and try to build a lower floor where it won't be that crowded, so that people actually have to go to the second, third, fourth, I don't know how many levels we are going to do in the end, but yeah. But actually that's kind of the explanation why I thought putting a wooden coaster, or generally a coaster down here. The decision for a wooden coaster is basically because of the, you know, the way the lowest floor of this tower looks like. It's really strong, it's, you know, those are really heavy structures, and so I thought like the wooden coaster with its you know, big support system out of wooden planks and pillars kind of does pay attention, or just, you know, it just resembles the same kind of structure and strong feel to it, and it's really hard to explain. Even in German I wouldn't have that kind of good explanation for it, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain here. So as you can see, this little tower over here, which I did, is a little bit of a custom-made tower where the staircase can fit into, and I still have to do some beams and pillars that do hold up the actual pathway going upstairs, but I think in general this is already a really nice kind of you know, how is it called? Cover, that's the word I was looking for. A really nice cover to the staircase going up to the second floor. And what I also wanted to do then is to kind of bring the second floor to life with a foundation, or just with the floor itself. And therefore I also wanted to make this a little bit more heavy than just one size of a block. It should be actually like, I think it's like 2 meters now. I'm not too sure if that would be enough, but I didn't want to make it too heavy. And yeah, basically that's the idea. And then we are going now into a very, very interesting and also very important part, and this is kind of the way we could go into supporting this level. And I definitely think that we should have big pillars supporting this upper level, because it's definitely not gonna hold just by the outside ring, those big walls. I mean, those big walls would actually hold up very well to the... Oh, sorry, I just hit my microphone. Oh, that was too long an episode without hitting my microphone, but here you go, hitting my microphone again. Anyways, I think that it's really important to have those pillars as well to, you know, make sure that this entire build wouldn't realistically break together because of, you know, not having enough supports. So that's why I wanted to make those pillars, and I was struggling a little bit with the looks of it. At the end, I'm kind of happy with it, and I still think there can be, or there will be, a little bit more detail to them once I have positioned them all in the right position, which I have done at the end of this episode. But still, I think we can also put in some foliage and some you know, more details to them. I didn't want them to be too detailed in a way, because that would also take away a little bit of the attention to more important ones, and I also wanted to keep the coaster the hero of this area, so those really big pillars over here will definitely take away a little bit of the attention, and so in the end we will also make kind of a structure that holds up those wooden coaster elements on the front. Like it's like the back part of this area is really just about the coaster, and I also started at the end of this episode with the station itself, but I definitely also had to move the coaster a little bit, as you can see here, and I also had to remove the how's it called again? The catwalk. I had to remove the catwalk. I mean, actually I would have had to remove it everywhere, but I just liked how it looks on this coaster sometimes, so I left it in for some, you know, areas just to make sure that it is, yeah, just looking a little bit more nicer, to have a little bit more heavy feel to it, but for the most part I just, you know, removed it later on to give a little bit more space to the entire area, because it was maybe even a little bit too heavy, but yeah, so you can also see a little bit of the area, and I will give you also a POV at the end of this episode, because I think this collaboration will go on for a while, and I don't want you to wait, you know, till the end with all the POVs, because it's definitely not finished, and I might tweak it, or maybe Uthris is going to tweak it as well. So yeah, basically this flat ride over here is just there as a kind of, you know, as a little bit of a marking point in a way, just as a little note to know where I have to put the path in, and just to kind of try around how much space we do have on this upper floor. And as you can see, I also tried and started to put down some pathways here and there, just to see how this works out, because we definitely have to deal with those you know, little curbs. And I think it was Fluxtrans where I first heard it, that somebody in his very first episode in Planet Coaster, after his very first series 1 year ago, so he immediately complained about that we are not able to remove the curb once we are on the upper level. And I think this is also strange, because I also wanted to be, you know, I also want to be able to remove the curb everywhere. I mean, why should it be raised up? Why should there be a curb and then on the lowest part there isn't one? I mean, the curb is not the one to support it, you know. We do have supports underneath the path, and the game offers so much freedom, so why don't give us that freedom over here as well? So that would be a nice addition, so we can actually make some nice looking pathways on the upper floor, and without that we do have to deal with a little bit of custom work to make the pathway a little bit more interesting, to make a little bit of a sidewalk as well, and yeah, it's a little bit tricky. But anyways, here you can see that I wanted to follow the idea that I mentioned earlier in this episode, and which Uthris has started in his last episode, this kind of broken down idea to it. So I wanted to give this a connection and make this a second tower, which could have been a second staircase to the second floor once in a while, but then maybe a few years ago, a few decades ago, I don't know, maybe even centuries ago, but then nature takes over again, and you won't be able to take the second staircase to the first floor. So that's basically the idea, and I just, you know, wanted to build up on this. And also noticed that I had to remove the old entrance because my pillars were blocking the view, so I decided to move the entrance a little bit to the left hand side so that we do have a nice view of the entrance later on. I will also make a sign, but before making a sign I wanted to know, guys, if you have an idea how to call this roller coaster over there. I mean, like, we could now go and have a little bit of a chat about what this coaster could be named like, but guys, why don't you just jump into the comments and give us some ideas, and we want to decide which is the best idea and just name this coaster after this one. That would be a nice thing, so just make sure to drop down your thoughts in the comments, and we are gonna decide which of those, or yeah, just which idea is the best one, and we'll take it. So you can have your little part in our park here. So if you want, just go ahead and do so. Yeah, and over here you can see I'm going to do a little bit of a custom fence, which also should be, you know, fitting into this style over here a little bit better than the in-game and prefab fences. So I just made this one. I kind of wanted to make it appear a little bit more strong, a little bit more, yeah, thick and heavy compared to the more thin and you know, really detailed little fences that you can get from the just in-game ones. And yeah, the rest of this episode is basically about cleaning up the area and making a wooden support for this front part of the coaster, which is then again, I think the hero area of this back area of the first level. So it's really on the opposite side of the entrance. So you join the park and you have the view to this coaster, and basically you won't see the coaster entirely as you can see it now, because there will be definitely some more pillars going on and some more structures going on, because we won't end with the first episode, just with the first floor, sorry. We will have definitely some more floors, and also on the now open side of it there will be also a floor. So I mean, there will be a few things that will block the view. So in the end we do need a little bit of a smaller area which can be the hero, so that people walking around this area can really be dragged to this coaster. And because the coaster itself might be a little bit hidden later on, once this first floor, or just the you know, the how is it called? The bottom level? I don't know. But the first floor, once this is finished, you won't be able to see the entire coaster. And this is why I just wanted to make this kind of custom wooden support system to the coaster part, which is going out of those little pillar area in the back. If that makes any sense, what I just mentioned over there. It's a little bit hard to explain, but I think you get it. And yeah, so I think in the end, and this might also be the thumbnail you guys have seen at the beginning, this is then, yeah, just the area we should leave open to be seen from a point standing a little bit further away from this coaster, but anything else can be hidden behind pillars and bigger structures as well, because like this park will be a big how is it called? It's a little bit of a hard episode because it's really some special terms have to be used over here. So I mean, this park will have two very different areas and two very different feels to it. So we do have some areas which are outside the tower. So for example, the outer ring of this lowest level of the big tower is pretty much open like hell. It's like, you know, it's completely open. There's any roof to it. It's just as on the outer side, and it would be, for example, completely destroyed by any weather conditions if there would be some in the game, and it will be, you know, very open, and we can do a lot with foliage, and yeah, it's just very bright, and also a lot of sunlight, and nearly no shadows at all. So that's really something also challenging to make look good. But then again, we do have this inner part of the tower, and which will be at the end of this entire project really interesting, because then this lowest level is like kind of completely hidden, and this makes it also really interesting because it's nearly like an indoor area, and this is what I also had to spend a little bit of attention to, because I now slap in a little bit of foliage, but we have to see later on if that's even possible, because I also try to be, you know, a little bit careful with the foliage, because like there won't be that much sunlight. I left this open fully intentional so that there is kind of a little bit sunlight going into, and this first airtime hill over here is also going out a little bit to make this entire thing kind of, you know, more interesting, give it a little bit light to it, so that it is something you can really look at, and it's nice in terms of lighting and stuff like that. But in the end, this area might be also in the shadows, because we don't know what's going on then above it. So maybe we have to deal then with some systems to bring light into it. So but maybe with some gigantic mirror stuff going on, anything like that. But I'm not too sure about it yet, I have to say. So yeah, so as you can see, I am a little bit careful, and I also will spend a closer look to this inner area later on in the next episode then, when I'm going to finish the station. I mostly did one half of the station. It's not all in the footage. I left out some of it later on because I had already way too much footage, and so I decided to do it a little bit off screen. Maybe I'm continuing off screen, I don't know, off stream. To be a little bit further ahead next episode, but I'm having a little chat with Uthris then after this episode. But yeah, I hope that you guys will appreciate what I did, because I have to say I'm a little bit, I've mixed feelings about this episode. I have to say in the end I'm really happy with what I've done, but I can totally understand if you might be a little bit questioning it now. Because it's like a huge step ahead already, even though the first floor, as you can see, is pretty empty right now. But I had the feeling that we have to already shape it a little bit to be able to see where we are going then later on. Because if we would fill like in the entire floor, like the lowest part of this entire build, and then in the end we might have a problem because we don't know where to put in those really important big structures to hold up for the second floor of this build. And I just went YOLO now, and I just said to myself, okay, let's just do it. He can remove everything he wants to, so if he's totally unhappy, Uthris, just go ahead, delete my stuff. I'm totally fine with it, but I had to take this kind of little risk over here, yeah, to make something happen. But yeah, that's already it. As I said, I also made a little bit more. I will post down now a screenshot of this backside so you can see what I did there. And I'm gonna continue saying goodbye to you a little bit right now and put in some, oh, sorry, I just hit my microphone again. So yeah, I'm gonna implement some more screenshots right now over here so you can see what I did. And once I have finished talking, you'll get a little POV. And that should be it. And hopefully then next time we'll see each other with this project on Uthris' channel. With both of us, if we do manage it. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and see you then in the next episode. Bye bye.